everybody. My name is Gus Wade. I'm the managing broker in New York. And today I am so excited to have Bob Murphy up in Connecticut, who's our Station Cities broker, and Pamela Roman out in Jersey, our broker out there, to talk about what is happening in the tri-state region, where the opportunities are, and just give a little bit of background on you guys and what's up with you. So why don't we start with you, Pamela? How long have you been hacking away at this real estate game in New Jersey?
Almost 15 years.
Wow. And most of us don't end up in real estate as our first choice of career. So where did you come from before that?
No, my degree is in finance. You're so true. It's so true. Most realtors do come from another background. They bring that experience with them, which is great. Very diverse field. So my degree is in finance. I worked for mutual fund companies for many years. Had a family and then needed something that was a little bit more flexible with my time, and always loved looking at houses, and it's the ultimate shopping trip. So
got it. And where in Jersey are you based, Pamela?
I'm here in Bergen County, and our office is in Hoboken specifically, but we cover pretty much most of New Jersey with our very experienced realtors.
Got it. Fantastic. And let me ask you this. What is your absolute favorite thing about doing real estate? Like, what's the piece that really fires you up?
Yeah, I actually love the art of the deal. So obstacles that come up with maybe an offer or a challenge, as far as getting the two parties to a meeting of the minds, that's exciting. And each time it's different. So I think the variety is actually the best part of the job.
Got it. And now you recently just closed a very big deal that had a bunch of obstacles. So tell me a little bit about that deal.
We did. We had a very high value client who was looking in a very specific narrow area. They saw the house, I think, in November for the first time. And then finally we closed just last month. So wow. It was a long-term hand-holding commitment and dealing with some very powerful personalities. But we came to a very successful conclusion. Everybody's happy. I think there might be a pool party invitation.
Fantastic. All right. We'll like that. I wonder if they have the waterproof masks yet for the pool party COVID stuff. I'm not sure if anybody's come up with that, but
I actually was taking a tour of a building and they had a sign on the pool area. Please remove your mask. It's a drowning.
Wow. Okay. Well, listen,
Common
it takes,
sense.
There we go.
Announcement.
So, Bob, welcome. It's
Thank you.
A recent addition to our Station Cities family, but you've been up there in Cheshire for quite a while.
Quite a while.
Yeah, give me a sense of how long you've been doing it and your story.
Sure. Yeah, I've been in Cheshire, Connecticut, central Connecticut for 27 years now, and I've been practicing real estate for 20 years. So I was formerly an educator. I've got a master's in mathematics, and I did that for 25 years. But I actually started in real estate as kind of a side gig, to make a little extra money. And eventually it just kind of transitioned to full time. So I'm no longer an educator. Well, I'm always an educator, I should say, right? But I'm doing real estate full time as the broker and manager here for Station Cities, which has been great and exciting. And I'm just thrilled to be a part of the organization.
Well, and the extra money, I'm assuming, was to help support your 9 children.
Well, there's 10 children, yes.
Since I was last up there last week, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, there's 10 children, so that's exactly why I got into real estate, because I needed to make some extra money. So, and especially with children, they're great kids and they're all in college, so I needed to be able to pay for college tuition.
Got it. Step it up.
Yep.
So listen, why don't we start with you in Connecticut? So
sure.
Have you ever seen a market like this?
This is a market, I got in real estate back in 2002, which was the beginning of that spike in the market, of course, right? The height was 2006, 2007 before the crash. I'm seeing a market like 2005, 2006. And I'm seeing prices in Connecticut around 2005, 2006. So we're kind of returned to those market values. I've seen the market before, and it's great to see. Now, not that it's artificially inflated. What's happening is, of course, because of COVID, people are fleeing the cities right now, and so we see a huge influx from New York City and Boston too, for that matter. So I read in the Hartford Courant last week that 16,000 people have relocated from actually New York City and Long Island into Fairfield County, New Haven County. So that's a lot of people. And so I looked at the market again this morning, and especially here in Cheshire, I use that as kind of a bellwether. And the inventory is tremendously low. Normally we have about 140 to 160 listings. Right now we've got 58 listings in Cheshire, Connecticut. So the inventory is tremendously low, and we've got a lot of buyers, which translates into a seller's market. So that's what we're seeing here in Connecticut, this influx from New York City, and there's a ripple effect that's pushing people from Fairfield County into New Haven County and up into Hartford County. So it's a dynamic, very active market right now here in Connecticut. And
Pamela, would you say that's similar in Jersey?
Yeah, absolutely. Very unusually high volume of buyers. And as we have multiple offer situations, the inventory becomes less and less. And I agree, very low inventory right now. So it's a tough market for the first-time home buyer looking to maybe get a deal. That being said, I think the values, like Bob said, are remaining steady, and they're not artificially inflated. The forbearance, the number of people that were expected to take a forbearance they were expecting about 46% of homeowners would do that. And I read a report yesterday that it actually is only 8% that took the forbearance. So even the expected amount of foreclosures is not going to happen. So our values are really what's the market value right now.
And have you guys seen anybody put their house on the market because, so what's the price increase, let's say, from a year ago? And these, we're not looking for Wall Street numbers here. We're just looking from, basic ballpark stuff. What are you guys seeing on the ground? And I just want to say this. One of the reasons I like doing this is because a lot of the times the statistics we get are statistics that were accurate 3 or 6 months ago because closings get into the system, et cetera. And the reality on the ground today doesn't get reflected or published for 3 or 4 months from now.
Sure.
So the reality on the ground today, what's sort of the price increase from a year ago? Not at the super high end or at the super low end, but you're sort of, middle of the road home.
Well, here in New Jersey, I would average about 20 to 30,000. You've got to offer above asking.
Got it. And what is the asking price as opposed to last year at this time?
Yeah, it probably maybe 5%, 5 to 10% over what we saw last year.
So a 5 to 10% hike in prices and then multiple bids over ask.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what are you seeing that as well, Bob?
I am seeing that here in Connecticut as well. Yeah. I've just listed a property in North Haven, had multiple offers, 15,000 above asking price, but it was a modest $299. And then I just got a call from a previous client that I helped settle about 4 years ago, and he wants to list his house and take advantage of the seller's market. And he purchased, I think, for $399 4 years ago, and we're probably going to list it for $469.9. So it's a substantial increase in value. Yeah.
Well, so this is interesting. Have you seen anybody do the reverse and say, you know what, now would be a great time to sell in Jersey or Connecticut and buy in New York City?
I have not seen that yet. I'm sure it's coming though, right?
Well, the reason I ask is I had a client who has been renting in New York for the last 6 years. Actually, Bob, I sent him out to see you.
Yep, that's right.
A guy, and they ended up purchasing in New Jersey, but he wants to purchase 5 condos on the Upper West Side because he's convinced that when the city comes back, it's going to come back with full fury, full force, and there's going to be such an unleashing of people wanting to move back into the urban areas once COVID is a distant memory, that he's banking on that. And my ex-wife, who's been thinking of selling her home in Nyack and purchasing back in New York City because the kids are out of the house, is actually contemplating doing that reverse move because she could cash out in the suburbs and there might be a 5 or 10% drop in prices in New York.
Sure.
So you haven't seen that yet?
I have not seen that yet, but I agree with that. I think, once again, COVID is a distant memory, just after like after 9/11, right? After a year or two, I mean, the city came back in full fury. I think that we'll see a return to the city, and it'll probably be more the millennials and the younger people moving back, maybe originally, but then I would anticipate, a full recovery, I would think.
I agree. The younger people for sure. I have some friends who have children that are just graduating college and their first jobs are in the city with Ogilvy and Mather. And the other one is working for Bloomberg, and they're found rentals. They're not ready to buy yet. First job, out of college, but they're definitely looking there to rent.
Yeah, listen, and the rental prices are coming down significantly. The inventory is going up. The incentives are huge. I know Amazon, I don't know when they're going to do it, but they're going to put 2,000 employees in the old Lord and Taylor building on Fifth Avenue.
Nice.
And, you can already see it. Young kids are kind of like itching to get out of the house, get out of the basement, get back where the action is. So I anticipate that would happen. Now, let me ask you this. The ideal buyer coming out to either Connecticut or New Jersey right now, what do they have prepared so that they can compete in this market?
Well, here in New Jersey, you definitely need a pre-approval to make any offer, at least 20% down. I mean, you can buy a house with less, obviously, and finance with less down, but that with in a multiple offer situation, that 20% down, it definitely gives you a leg up with the bidding process. And we try to narrow down area because in New Jersey, a lot of the communities run together. And especially for first-time home buyers, maybe schools aren't exactly, they don't need a target school district. So they're willing to look in a wide range of areas, but you have to move quick. So if we can narrow it down to, a certain 3 or 4 towns for them to focus on. So that pre-approval, really a focus on where they want to be, an idea of where they want to be, that's really helpful in the process.
Bob, anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And of course, cash is king. So if you come in with a cash offer, that tends to be a little stronger just because you eliminate the mortgage financing contingency, right, from the contract. So I've had some clients from the city come in there and they've been cash deals. So, and you get, again, you're probably going to be making offers above the asking price. If the property is priced well. Sometimes if someone's looking for, to get the world from their property, take advantage of the market and it's way overpriced, you're not going to be in that multiple offer situation. But for the most part, most properties are priced fairly well or at market value. Those properties you're going to have to probably ask or offer above the asking price. And if you have a cash offer, again, that's put right at the top, right?
Now, would you think a good listing strategy right now in Jersey and Connecticut is to price it 2 or 3% below market value? And the reason I say that is this, buyers always know more about property than sellers. So sellers live in their house. They love their house. They redid the kitchen 3 years ago. They think it's the best house ever. And a buyer's seen 20 or 25 properties that they're going to compare that property to. And for savvy people who are in the market, they recognize a good deal. And especially in this environment where you're getting multiple bids, do you think that would be a good strategy to just get a lot of energy around a place as soon as it's released?
I think it's a great strategy. We do that actually routinely anyway, even in the pre-COVID market. It definitely generates interest, and for sure, it's a great strategy.
I agree. It is a great strategy to generate, because if you're in a multiple offer situation, you may end up getting much more for the property if you got 2 or 3 bids on the property, right? It tends to drive the price up. I mean, I did actually, I listed a property again, this one in North Haven. It's a small cape, and I actually thought it was about worth for $270,000. And so, but he wanted $299 for it. And I said, okay, that's a little high, but we'll test the market. And we got 3 offers at 312, I think it was, right above the asking price. So I mean, I thought he was listing about 3 or 4% above what I thought was the market value at the time, rather than 2 or 3% less.
Right.
So that's how parts of Connecticut, some of the markets are that crazy right now, right? But again, overall, I agree with Pamela. It's a great strategy to always list, I would think, 2 or 3 or 4% below what you believe the market value is, to generate that interest, right? Especially if it's a competitive market.
Right.
That's a hard conversation to have with your seller, because they always think it's worth more.
Exactly.
And so to get them to understand that strategy is a little difficult at times, but that's really what works.
Yeah, that's my experience. Whenever I go into a listing appointment, I always ask them before I give my number. So what do you think your property's worth? Right. And then they're like, well, no, you're the expert. You tell me what it's worth. Right. But I always try to get them to tell me first, just to have an idea of what they're thinking. And it's always 10 to 15% more than what the market value is. You know, that's my experience. Right. Because like you said, Gus, people think, right, they just put a new kitchen in, they just spent, $45,000. They want to be able to get that back. And again, I always tell my sellers, it's really, it's not about what you want for the property, what you need for the property. It's really about what the market's going to give you, right? It's, again, value. We're in a free market capitalist economy, thanks be to God. And because of that, right, it's your value of your property is what a ready, willing, and able buyer is willing to pay for your property. That's who determines the value and the price. Right. So if you can price it a little less than what you believe the market value is, let the buyers come in, right? Let them make the offers, and let's see what the real value is.
Yep.
Got
absolutely.
It. Now, in New York, what we're seeing is a lot of times sellers, brokers will not allow us in with our clients unless we send the pre-approval letter ahead of time, because they don't want to show property to people who aren't ready, willing, and able to move because of the disclosures and everything else. Do you have that same issue in Jersey and Connecticut, or is that not what's going on?
We do, and especially in the higher value homes. I think anything above like 600K, we're seeing a lot of asks for the pre-approval first. They have so much interest in the properties that they're not really limiting, their marketing by doing that. So that's definitely something that they've been asking for. Some of the higher value. I think the lower value, first time home buyer, little pocket from like, 300 to 500, we don't see it as much.
Got it.
Yeah, that's the same here in Connecticut. You don't see it as much, but in the high valued homes, I showed a property a couple of weeks ago in Wilton at 1.5 million, and they were asking for pre-approval letters. But I had just met this buyer, and I just told the listing agent, these people are all set, and I just convinced them that just let us in to see the property. If they like it, they're going to make an offer. So we finally didn't disclose a pre-approval, even though they were asking for it, right? But you'll find that at the higher end homes, sure.
Got it. And what have the open houses been like in this environment? Pamela, you're shaking your head.
Insane. Try to avoid them if at all possible. If my buyers can look during the week, or even in the week on the, late afternoon, evening hours while it's still light now in the summer, we really try to do that. You wait in line for hours at the open houses, which limits your time to show other properties during the day. And that, of course, that's COVID related. Having more than 6 people inside makes everyone feel a little uncomfortable. And in some of the homes where, the rooms are smaller, you don't want that many people in a space. So I feel bad sometimes for the listing agents because they have to manage the crowd, but we have lines around the block sometimes for the open houses. I have some, and then of course it's, the sellers are anxious too. They've got newborns or children in the home, and they're limiting the times of showing. So we're really having a little bit of it's, you know, it's an obstacle to overcome with scheduling viewing.
Mhm.
Got it. And same experience in Connecticut, Bob?
We're not having open houses here in Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at the Connecticut Association guidelines with open houses. They're just discouraging them, and I think most agents are taking that seriously. So we really haven't had that many. I mean, I haven't had an open house since this COVID thing began. So we're doing virtual open houses, but not not physical people in person open houses. So that's what's happening here. And again, because it's a little bit more of a hot market, you don't really need an open house to sell a property, right?
No, that's
So-
very true. Yeah.
So we're just not doing them here. At least we're not doing them in my offices. And I know several of the other offices in town are not doing them as well. So
So let me end with this. Do you think, so what permanent changes do you think are going to come out of this new way of shopping? And I guess what I'm thinking of, do you think moving into the future, the virtual tours and the videos, people will look at 20 of them and pick out the top 3 or 4? Do you think it's going to lessen people going in person or no? Do you think, what effect do you think this new way of being is permanent and what's going to go away quickly?
I'll jump in. I think people will still need to see a property in person before pulling the trigger to purchase. They need to feel it, and pictures can only do so much, and they can be deceiving too. So I do feel like it will narrow down what they're looking at. They can look at virtual tours. It's almost a must now for any listing to have some kind of virtual tour online for the buyer to see. But I think ultimately it may just narrow down what they want to look at. They still need to see it in person and feel the property, walk the perimeter, walk the rooms. I feel like that part of real estate will never go away.
Got it.
yeah, I agree with Pamela. Yeah. I mean, I think we're going to see, the virtual tours, the 3D tours are popular as well. I mean, they were becoming very popular, of course, even before COVID, right? I mean, there was so much you can do just from your desk looking at, online, which is great, because I always tell my sellers that people that are coming to look at the house, they've done so much due diligence, right? They're serious buyers. I mean, they just need to walk through the property and make sure it feels good. And I agree with Pamela. When you're working with a buyer and someone comes in and they just say, this is it, right? It's like the wow factor. I mean, it's just, you got to be there and you got to experience it, right? And that, you just can't do that online. And so I think that'll never go away. Although, having said that, I've been doing this 20 years and I sold 2 properties to 2 different buyers without, sight unseen. So it does happen. I helped somebody from Utah relocate to Middletown, right over next to Cheshire. And then I helped somebody from Hawaii actually purchase a property in West Haven. Sight unseen. The first time they saw the property was at the inspection. So, and that's because of all the online and the virtual tours. They got a really good sense of the property, but you got to be there to make sure that this is the right one.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, listen, guys, first of all, I want to say I am so grateful, Bob, that you and your team are up in Connecticut taking care of the folks that I'm sending you from New York City. And Pamela, you as well. And this was really, really helpful. And I hope we're going to do this again.
Sure,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, thank you both for jumping in, and have a great rest of the day.
All right. Thanks, Gus.
You
Thanks,
too.
Pamela. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.